And welcome everyone. I am Alicia Green, your host and consultant at Integral Professional Services, BVI Limited. We're a consultant company that offers a wide array of solutions for corporate, international business, technology, project management, and a slew of support services we cover under our business concierge desk. Like everyone else, we had to go through a restructuring exercise. And for this initiative, we decided to return our TN Talk sessions virtually for the fact that we're not able to travel as we used to in the past to do face to face. But my guest today is joining us from the Washington, D.C. area, Mr. Larry Kibler, and he is from RKV International. He has over 20 years of experience in directing and providing information technology solutions to government agencies, Fortune 1000 companies like Verizon, Marriott, and Fannie Mae, and multiple Caribbean countries to include but not limited to the Turks and Caicos Islands, where I lived for a short period, St. Kitts Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, and the British Virgin Islands, with a deliberate focus on improving customer delivered solutions. So this topic that we're going to be talking about is so important. It's become even more critical for us to consider because many of us were thrown into working remotely over the past year and a half. Some of us were forced to automating tasks which were never done before. And it made us as managers and CEOs stop and think and strategize as to how we can make this work, one, and in some instances, improve how we engage with our clients. How can we continue to function effectively and produce the highest level of service with our team members now being dispersed in different locations and geographies? We're short staffed, we have too much staff, we still not getting it quite right. Well, there's a basic exercise that is important to operations and the way we function, and that is by creating workflows. We know what we want to do in our minds, but how can we connect with our peers, our departments? How to flow seamlessly from one task to another to complete our projects on time and provide that superior service to our clients. Well, that's why you're here, Larry. And we're looking forward to dialoguing with you for the next 20 minutes on boosting our processes and operations efficiency. So I'm going to turn it over to you now to let us know how this works.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I hope you can see my screen. I hope. Let's start there.
Yes.
So good morning. I'm Larry Kibler. I've been with RKV for many years. I've been working in the Caribbean for several years. But at the end of the day, I'm here to not tell you about me, but what I can do to try to help you. And I want to thank Alicia and IPS for giving me an opportunity to actually speak with you guys and being the first for their virtual TN Talk. So let's get into this. I can jabber a lot, and I'll try not to do that, and I'll try not to be a little over the top because it's early in the morning, but if anyone who knows me, I'm a morning guy, so I'm always excited about what I do, and I have information today that's really going to lift your spirits and turn your organization from the very small to the very large. So again, let's get into workflows, and at the end of the day, what's the most efficient way to get the work done? At the end of the day, that's what we do every day. All right, so we're going to talk about table of contents. What are we going to talk about today? What's a workflow? Why do I need to create workflows? Last one is if you decide to do a workflow, and you should, you got to go through 5 steps. And trust me, those steps are going to be so easy. You're going to say, oh my gosh, I could have thought of that myself. But at the end of the day, these 20 minutes, now I'm down to 18 minutes that I have, I want you to do this. If I did my job well, you should know, A, what is a workflow? That's simple. If I do my job successfully in terms of department or imparting this information, you should say, I know why we should be using workflows. Now, if I've not done that in 18 minutes, then we'll see. All right, so what is this? These are workflows, different types, from the very easy to the very complex. And what I'm gonna look at is the easy side. So I don't know how many men are on the thing, and I'm not gonna discriminate because women do this too. There are 2 household items everybody should have. I said should. You may not, but you should. WD-40 and duct tape. And at the end of the day, they have 2 distinct jobs, those two distinct tasks. So when we look at this workflow on the left side, does it move? That's the first question. No, it's not supposed to move. Good. We go to the second decision point. Should it? If the answer is yes, DW4 it is, and it works on everything. If it shouldn't, no problem. My task is done. I did that in 2 seconds. Okay? On the other side of the ledger, should it move? Does it move? Yes. It does move. Okay. Should it? If the answer is no, duct tape will get it moving again. If it is moving, yes, done. Into my little task. And that is the basis of a workflow. Now, on the other side of the ledger, we're going to use HHS, which is Health and Human Services here in the United States. Yes, they were a client of mine. Okay, in this particular case, this is a different workflow because it's more case-driven, which means you're going to have more human touch to it. Which means the scenario is we have a family that's struggling. So what do? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food, water, and shelter. Of course, not exactly in that order, because if we're in Alaska, I would think shelter is more important than food and water. That's just an example. So how do I help this struggling family? Well, if it's housing, I go to someone that's in housing. Do they need emergency shelter? Was their house destroyed? Do they have house? Do they need emergency money to help pay their rents or their mortgages? If it's food, do I need to give them hot lunch? Do I need to get them to different services? Can I connect with local services? Each one of these boxes are a touch point. And although it's complex, it's really not, because we're saying we're mapping out all the different scenarios to get this struggling family help in the United States. And it could be city, state, North America, South America, East and West Coast. The point I'm making is, in this particular example that I'm showing is, these are both workflows, from the simple to the complex. Okay, hopefully I did that so you guys understand, but at the end of the day, they're all workflows. So the big question, what is a workflow? Okay, the screen will tell you what it is, but in my vernacular, you know what a workflow is? It's a visual representation of a process. That process is whatever it is in your organization, again, from the very small, from the mom and pop shop to the donut shop, to the big organizations, from FSC to governments to law firms. There's a process you do every day. And the catch is, are you managing it well? Do you know what you're doing? Are you efficient? Are you effective? Is what you're doing repeatable? If Sally doesn't come in on one day, can you still get the job done? Can you still get the task done? What if Mike and Sally are not in that day? Can you still accomplish the task for your internal and external users? Can you, as a small business, still earn the revenue for the day if people are not there? How do you fill in? See, so a workflow will solve that problem. But what is a workflow? It's just a simple visualization of all the processes in your organization. Okay? So there are several types, but there are 3 main types of workflows. Okay? Process workflow, which is the easiest, and it will apply to most of us. The task of the process can be, how do I get mail in every day? What's the process of getting that mail being delivered to me? Do you scan it first and then electronically send it to someone in your firm or in your organization? Or does somebody take the mail, sort it, and then they'll walk around? Or you still using the vanilla envelopes? Okay, so that's a process workflow. That's relatively, again, most of what we do as consultants, that's a big chunk of what we do when we're talking about workflows for clients. Okay, case workflow. That's the same as I showed you with the HHS, the big convoluted monster. The case workflows are when you're dealing with a lot of human intervention, and it requires a lot of decisions and nuances. Lawyers if you've been in a law firm, they get a client. That client can be, I don't know, corporate client or individual, could be a lawsuit, whatever it is, you're going to have a lot of touch points. You have to make an intelligent decision. And that decision may say, okay, let me send it to our accounting people for forensic audit. Let me send it to our auditing folks to do something else. So it's going to be a lot of hand-holding in terms of touch points. That's case workflow in a nutshell. All right, the last one is project workflow. This one is a specific task you want to accomplish, and chances are you're only going to do it once. So it's unique. An example would be, we're now going to install some construction software for our guys who only work on the cement side. And this software only works for the cement side, not the brick side or the mortar side, just cement, okay? So we're gonna create this project workflow to say, these are the steps we need to take to do this specific task. And if I use electronic mail, that's a specific task. So I'm gonna create this flow so that I can get it done. I know what we're doing. And it's not necessarily repeatable. So what the next software is a different type. It has to do with our hearing impaired clients. That's a specific task. I'm only going to do it once. Right? So those are the three types. All right. Last one is, how do I apply this? You see what I have on the screen, incident reports, compliance. Some of the other things are sales order, purchase order. Hey, what about vacation requests? The process. How do people currently put in for their vacation? Now, let's be honest. This is how most of us do our vacation requests. Pick up the phone. Hey, Mike, I want to take vacation in 2 weeks. That's how we normally do it. That's not the process, because we all have handbooks that say, here is the process, but do we follow it? Is it electronic? Is it telephonic? Is it email? Those are examples of some practical applications in terms of processes that we're aware of. This is an interesting slide because it talks about, what's up with a workflow? Why are you telling me this, Larry? Well, first step is process of discovery and conformance. By the way, let me pause. Conformance is a consultant term that we use to make us sound important, but collaboration, that's all it is, all right? And I'll get to that. I want to start with the left-hand side, which is as is workflow. Here is where we have to start. You need to document where you are. If you think your organization is humming like a bee, we're doing well. Well, how do you know? Are you sure? Have you documented it? Do you know what you're doing? Are organizations talking? How are they talking? Okay, so that's one. You got to document what you have. And I can tell you as a consultant, I've seen ugly. And I won't pick on FSC, but I also say Marriott. And I can say Trinidad. But the name of the game is you really need to document your as-is processes. And again, a workflow is just a visual presentation of the work you're already doing. The question will always be, is it effective? Is it efficient? And for a small business, is it profitable? Okay, now I'm gonna go to the other side, on the right. Our ideal workflow. At the end of the day, to get to one point to another, what's the quickest way to do it? Straight line, okay? And in the workflows and in our businesses, are we really going from A to Z in a straight line? Probably not, but we would like to. So that would be ideal. I want this. I like to have that. So that's the idea. But again, we document what we have, no matter how ugly it is, okay? But here's the center point, collaboration or conformance. You got to have all the stakeholders, and they've got to care, okay? I can't really see you guys, so I'm talking to myself, but I would always ask this question: what's missing in that middle row? All the stakeholders, what's missing? And they're the biggest hammer. I'll tell you, since you can't respond to me, it's the CEO or the owner. Because they are gonna have an idea of what this thing should do. And if you're a CEO, I can tell you the first thing you're thinking, is it profitable? Is it doable? Is it efficient? That's the person that's not listed. I don't like to list them because they're the big hammer. You know the second most important person on this list? The customers. If you don't focus on your customers, maybe the internal, external, then you lose no matter what you do. So you can create your as is. If the center of that is not your customer, maybe internal or external, then you've lost. Because that's the end product, the customer, the user. You know the next most important person on this list? Yeah, it's the consultant. Sorry. You know, because we're going to break down those silos because you obviously can't, okay, or won't. But some of you can. But the consultant is the outside arbiter. We don't pull sides. We don't care about silos. We want that end result. Customer experience, user experience. Okay? We want to make sure it's effective and efficient. So when you're talking about workflows, is the as is, crazy as it is, we got to back it up where you are. There's the idea, what we think it should be, but it all starts in this middle with collaboration. Okay, why should we? At the end of the day, the reason you should worry about workflows is, are you efficient? Are you productive? Do you know? The easy part is, oh, we're profitable. Well, where does that money? That's your business. It's customer satisfaction. Are you achieving it? How do we know? Okay, winners and losers. Okay, that's all it's about, winners and losers. Okay, be a winner, make it easy. Be a winner, make it repeatable. Be a winner, make it measurable. You cannot manage what you do not measure. The losing side, analog processes. Let's just be honest. When's the last time we looked at our processes to make sure that it's efficient or effective? Is it still doing the job we said a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years, 2 years ago? Policy and people. Ooh, this is a huge one because policy is important. A lot of people do electronic signatures now. Well, does the government say I can use it? Does the company have a policy that says we can't use electronic signatures? That's a policy issue. It can be a policy. We want paper. And law firms, I know you guys out there, you guys love paper, okay? So it may be a policy you need to change to make sure you're looking at how you need to work on your processes, okay? People are a big concern. If you haven't figured this out, if I've been there a year, 5 years, 10 years, I've been doing it this way for 10 years, I'm not gonna change, okay? That's a people constraint. How do you get around it? If it's the owner, how are you gonna get around it? If it's the finance guy, how do you get around it? If it's the secretary or the whomever, people are a concern here, and you're not making that change, then you're losing. Poor IT solutions, okay? I'll just say this real quick. When it comes to IT, your technology that you put in 5, 10 years ago may be obsolete. It may still be effective. Is it efficient? Is it productive? Are there better enhancements? We don't know. You need to look at it. But at the end of the day, you know when you're losing? If you're not efficient and if you're unproductive, then you're on the losing side of why you should concern yourself with workflows. All right, slide 7. This is an important slide because I want to pause here and let Alicia do her poll. Alicia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay,
Thanks,
we have
Larry.
some answers, Larry. So here we go.
Okay.
Question 1, all right, 86%. They do have a workflow process, which is great. Question 2, how many steps? 57% says 5 steps, 21% less than 3. 7% has more than 11, and 14% not at all. Next question, does your process involve 3 or more people? 79% says yes, 14% no, and 7% I don't know, which is good, it's fair. Are there frequent bottlenecks in your process? 29% yes, 29% no, and 43% says I don't know. Last question, when was the last time you reviewed your process? 36% said a year ago, which is great. 7% says 5 years ago, and 57% says I don't know. Okay, so
Wow.
Larry, I'm going to stop sharing the poll now and give you a chance to respond to that.
Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yes.
First of all, I'm gonna go with that last one first because that's astonishing. Because I always say, how do you know you're productive? How do you know you're efficient if you're not looking at your process? You're not continually improving your processes. So for those of you who have not looked at them in a year, and during this pandemic, I would think you would have to look at your processes, look at your organization and say, what are we doing effectively? How are we transforming our new environment with COVID? And let's just be honest, COVID's not going away. It's gonna be here
Yeah.
for a while. It changed the way we do business. In terms of multiple processes, if you don't know, you should know. Again, from the mom and pop to the single shop to the construction firm to the law firm to big organizations, you should always be looking at your processes. And if you're not mapping them out, then how do you know? That's the big thing I've always said to all my clients. How do you know? Oh, well, I get this report every month and it says we are profitable. Yeah, but really? Are you sure? Not that you're not profitable, but are you being effective and efficient? Are your customers satisfied? Are your internal customers satisfied? So when it comes to this poll, it was really anecdotal in terms of saying to you who are here today, if you're not focused on your workflow, you're not focused on your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that means to me. Okay? And I hope that helps. Well, if I offended you, I apologize.
Listen, Larry, I just want to let everyone knows that they can type their questions in the little Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Type your questions in. We will answer them for sure. So go ahead and start typing those questions in. All right, Larry, back to you.
All right, so here we are. We're in the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen, about why should you worry about workflows and why you should do them, why you should create them. Because at the very beginning, I told you, here is an as-is workflow. So we got two processes that we do, okay? Again, not bad, not good, not anything. It's as is. As my wife says to me, it is what it is. So that's essentially when you look at your organization, you look at your processes, it is what it is. Remember we talked about this thing about we have an idea of what it should look like? Well, then you get down to what it really is, process enhancement. Now, what can I practically do? And you see a little green box there? That's an automatic process. And let me make this very clear. I am not selling software solutions if I can fix it doing something else. So when you think about process enhancement, it is, again, streamlining what you do. Right now, it has to go to Sally, Bob, and Dan. Okay? Well, if we look at it, hey, why do we need both Sally and Dan? Let's eliminate that process and put it all in one particular person's realm of responsibility. Oh, instead of routing it this way, let's route it a different way. Sometimes we think ABC, but sometimes it's CBA. So we've got to look at it from a visual point and then a practical point. Remember I told you about this collaboration thing? This is how we get to process enhancement. All the shareholders are coming in and we're talking about, hey, now that we can visually see it, these bottlenecks, these issues, these delays, we can try to correct them or minimize them. That's what we want to do. That's process enhancement. So you go from as is, collaboration, process enhancement. And if we do a good job, your organization should be running smoother. It's more effective, it's more manageable, and more importantly, you can measure it. Okay? Once again, my screen sticks here. There you go. So I told you what it is. I told you why you need a workflow. So now you're saying, you know what, Larry? We got to do this workflow thing. Just 5 easy steps. And this is one slide, by the way. One slide. And this is easy, okay? I said the first one was, what's the workflow, right? Visual representation of a process that's repeatable, okay? You got to identify that process no matter what. When I say no matter what, meaning I don't care how ugly it is, got to document it. And I always tell people internally, and I'll pick on Marriott this time, they had an internal issue that from the outside, we said, hey, that's not exactly a good way to do business. Not that it was illegal, it's just not a good way to do business. But we identified it when we did the workflow. when you meet with all the key people, which goes to number 2. Anyone that's in your organization does something, because if they don't, they're hurting your organization. Why are they there? So you got to make sure they care. You got to connect to everyone in the process, and they've got to take ownership of what they do, how they do it. Because at the end of the day, that's the whole point. We're doing a visual representation of your organization. And that's everybody that's in your organization. If you have somebody in your organization that's not doing anything or something, you need to say, why are they here? Everybody has a purpose. From the person that opens the door, the person who does the cement, to the legal aid person that does X, to the financial institution that does X. And I don't know if there are any bankers on here, but banks have gone through a major transformation in the last 10 years, but more so in the last 2 years. Because if you're not making your customers happy, giving them easy access to your money, you're losing. If I'm a law firm, if I'm taking up too much time to get a case done, then I'm losing money. Well, lawyers are different. You guys charge us by the hour. So not a good example. But at any rate, I want to go back to number 2. You got to talk to everyone in the organization. Everybody has a task. You got to document that task. Number 3, collaboration. I said this before. You have got to talk to everybody. Everybody on that list. And don't forget, if you don't talk to the customer to find out what they want, both internal and external, then you lose. We don't want to be losers, do we? We are winning. We have a winning organization, and that's what we're going to be, a winning organization, by making sure we talk to all the stakeholders. Even if that stakeholder is in Europe or in Asia, even if that shareholder is in the next cubicle. Because if I do my job wrong, their job is going to be harder to do. That's why we all have to be a part of it. Okay? We create our workflow. What is the workflow again? It's a visual representation of a process. That's it. Okay? Now you got to test your solution. Now, let's say we redo this. We got to test it to make sure it works. Because if we make these changes and we're not efficient, we're not effective, then we just went through the exercise for nothing. And again, as a person who worked with the original version back 15, 16 years ago, they can all tell you, it's a pain to have to go through this testing phase to test your new workflow. But what's the end product? Marriott, more efficient and more effective. FSC, more efficient, more productive. My little construction firm, we're getting work orders out quicker, which means you're getting revenue in quicker. You got to test it to make sure it works. Okay? Here we go in review. And it's something I'm supposed to do on this slide, and I can't remember. But I can just tell you this. You have to start with as is workflow. No matter how ugly it looks, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to document what you do now. Every process, from the mailroom to the certificates to the certifications to the compliance. You've got to map out that process of what you do now, as is. And I implore you to get this done sooner versus later, especially those of you who haven't looked at it in over a year. You probably do need to look at it, okay? And we have that idea in the middle, okay? This is what I really would like to do, but can I? There are going to be constraints, people constraints, policy constraints, okay? There are going to be financial constraints, IT constraints. That's why we say idea is what we'd like to have, and then we got to get to the big one, process enhancement. And we do all of this to accomplish what? An efficient, effective, productive. That is what we all do for a living, no matter what you do. You are a valuable person in this process of doing whatever your business is, may it be small or large. Okay? And that's why the user experience, the customer experience are important, because the end product, whatever the end product is, that's the name of the game. And then I've shown this slide before. It's about what changes we make to make it more efficient. Okay, I'm getting down to the last one, right? That's the last one, I think. Yeah, I have done it, and I think I did it in 18 minutes and 46 seconds. Alicia.
Yes, Larry. Yeah, this is where now you guys, we don't have any questions yet. Everyone, either you did an excellent job or people are still thinking about how to get started on their workflows. But I want to just ask, go back to reinforce some of the things you talked about in terms of how often, no matter if you're small, medium, a large company, how often should you revisit your workflows? Is there a recommended
Well,
time frame?
all right. So I'm trying to remember the statistics, so don't quote me. So I'm going to quote Gartner. And their overarching statement was, if you're not continuously looking at your processes for improvement, then you're losing. But that's Gartner's kind of mantra. But what they really say is, it's really two rules of thought. At a minimum, 1 to 2 years, you should look at your processes. Second one is, an event or circumstance occurs which forces you to do it. And unfortunately for my beloved BVI, hurricanes make you look at your processes real quick.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
For those of us who live in the Atlanta area, see frequent ice storms. Okay, it forces you to look at your processes. So those are extenuating events. A key personnel passes away or leaves the organization unexpectedly. These are times when you look at that process and say, do we need to do this better? Can we be more efficient? Can we be more effective? That's the best way I can answer that. I gave you the Gartner, the gold standard, and I gave you kind of the anecdotal that we use in the industry.
Yeah. A lot of people right now are talking about, working remotely and trying to make sure our team members are engaged. And what have you seen in your experience has been the most efficient way to get persons to engage in these types of exercises with improving or just checking out the workflow that they have in place?
Okay, and that's a good question, because I'm actually being challenged with a new client on the very thing you're talking about. And it is, we need to do a better job of collaboration. How do we do it? How do we know what we're doing? I said, you can still look at your processes even though you're remotely. And as I said, everybody's important. So what do you do now? Even though you've changed the way you do it, it's not documented. So I think the best way to answer your question is, leadership has to push down on everyone else and said, we've got to change how we do business. You've got to change. You've got to help us make this better. And that's that whole input of customer experience, user experience. Okay, that's the only way I can kind of answer that question without, the autocratic way of, you will get this done. So
no, I think that was excellent. Well, Larry, I don't see any questions in the chat. Did you have anything else that you want to share to get
yes,
persons
I do.
engaged?
I want to end.
Go ahead.
I want to end on this one. I implore you, for those of you who are listening, and I do it to all my clients, I implore you to look at your organizations and look at your processes, from the mailroom to whatever. But you've got to look at it and say, am I being efficient? Am I being effective? Am I being productive? Because if you think you are and you don't know, then chances are you're not. Okay? It's all about winning and losing. We want winning organizations, from the mom and pop to the big firms to, again, the construction company to the Marriotts of the world. Okay, so that's my parting statement. Look at your organization and say, what processes, which ones can I change? Which ones I can't? How can we be more effective, efficient, productive? That's my parting statement. Thank you everyone for listening to me this early morning as the sun is finally rising here in the Washington, D.C. area. So I don't need all this lighting now. Thank you, Alicia. I really appreciate being the first of your talking teas, okay?
And again, we're going to be here every 2 weeks. If you follow us on our LinkedIn page, and I am putting that in the chat right now to get up-to-date information on what's coming next. Thank you guys for being here with us again, and we will see you next time for another engaging topic. Look out, it's going to be posted on our LinkedIn page really soon. Thanks again. Have a wonderful Wednesday.